So, introduction, I'm Chuck Andreas, and I finalized it pretty much on May 3rd. And you can contact me at grandpachucky@proton.me. And some of the challenges I've gone through has been monumental to me, but I've gone through it, and I hope this works out really well. But it's going to be a topic that's kind of controversial on a lot of aspects, because we're told one thing and by mainstream media and by documents by another, the opposite. So to get started here. Somebody poured their coffee and not take it? It's fine. Oh, okay. No, yeah. Sorry, go ahead. So the information is overwhelming almost. There's so much information to be had. And if you look at mainstream media, it's going to say these are contrails when we know they're in fact chemtrails. Oh, well, I shouldn't say that's fact. We're going to discover that as we go through this. So I'm going to put on my pilot's hat right now. And I'm going to take you on a journey. I'm glad you're on board the Chemtrail Express. We're going to take this through the mountaintops of truths and the valleys of fiction. We're going to explore a lot of things. You're going to do my job as a pilot is to direct us to a destination. And at the end of that destination, you make that decision where you want to depart at. Either mainstream media with contrails is what we see in the skies, or they're actually chemtrails with toxic chemicals in there. That's going to be your decision to make. But I will get you to the end of that path in a safe and expedient manner. Our journey should be about an hour and a half, I'm guessing, give or take any turbulence we may encounter along the way. And we're going to fly quickly through this because we have a lot of slides to go through. So one thing is pilots always talk about is their wings, right? Well, who else has wings besides birds? Angels, right? But we'd like to know we know that there's angels have wings, but there's other things that imitate angels. So we have two forces going on in the atmosphere, in the heavens. And so it brings up a scripture, 1 John 4:1. Beloved, do not believe all spirits, but be distinguishing between the spirits, whether they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. And so my job, is to direct your attention to the truth and the fiction. Is it fact or fiction? And the first time I encountered this with my wife was at an Earth Day fair in Alamogordo in like 2003, I believe it was. And the guy had these solar panels. He was a solar installer. And we started talking about solar stuff and a lot of other things. Some things that just, what? I was like, what's this guy talking about? And Laura and I were talking on the way home. And she's, what do you think about this guy? Pete was his name. And I said, I think he's a kook. And literally, because he talked about all these conspiracy theories, and one of which was those chemtrails, those things you see up in the sky, and there was a bunch at that time, there were chemtrails. And I said, what are chemtrails? And he explained a little bit. He's looked up, and then what stuck in my head was a patent, a Welsbach patent. And that's what I remember, and I looked it up. Now, Pete and I are good friends. And so, being a pilot to direct your attention and your safe travels, we have to examine everything to make sure it's true, because we don't want to fly into hazardous areas and could be a lot of turbulence. So I want to be like the Bereans, to question things. In Acts 17, verse 11, I'm going to quote it here. It says, now the Bereans were more noble-minded than the Thessalonians, and pilots usually are more noble-minded. For they received the message with great eagerness and examined the scriptures every day to see if these teachings were true. So we have to dig deep. You guys don't have to dig deep too. You can go beyond this stuff. I'll give you just this starter. This is a primer course. And so we do you guys see these things here? Do you see a grid pattern of clouds? Yeah. Somehow I missed a slide. Anyways, and what's normal is having blue sky with puffy clouds. I had a picture, and I don't know where it went. But anyway, so it's a grid pattern, and does it look natural? Well, I've been watching the skies for years, and this is your wake-up call, a warning about toxic compounds, specifically in the air. And so what goes up must come down. And the air we breathe means our life. So are we being gassed with these toxins? The following is provided for you as a primer for you to do your own research. Either do nothing or you can take action. The choice is yours. And from Ezekiel 33, verse 6, being a watchman, we are all watchmen. We know this information. We are compelled to give the warning to our friends and family, everybody we meet, be it whatever it is, the truth. We have to spread that. If we don't do that, we fail, we remain quiet, and there's a problem, we're going to be held accountable. Our blood's on our hands. If you make a decision, that's your choice. And the information I've given is, I'm going to file an affidavit, a fact, that the information I'm giving you is as accurate as it can possibly be. And that's from and I followed the admonition of the higher power from Proverbs 19:5. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will not escape. Okay, does this look normal? The picture right here, it took between Duran and Estancia. That looks kind of strange, doesn't it? And these over here, of course, in Albuquerque. And this, does this look right? This is in Sam's Club, Las Cruces. And you notice I got a date stamp on this one. This one's in Albuquerque. We're familiar with those around here. But now, how about this? This right here, strange clouds, where I took it from. That looks kind of fake, doesn't it? Photoshopped or something. And this one here, not this, but this right here, this is taken from the space station. Look at that. I think you all agree, if that's a cloud, that is not natural, is it? You agree with me on that? Yeah. Okay. So, I had a personal first-hand experience driving from Alamogordo up to Madrid about November 2018. I was traveling on the road, and this cloud, where you see the red, I highlighted it, that was like somebody had took a knife and cut that cloud one way and 90 degrees the other way, cut it. I was like, what? And by the time I got the camera out, that's what remained. It was so bizarre, and it changed in a matter of just a couple of seconds. I saw that firsthand. And so I'm like, wow, this is unbelievable. So here's something from geoengineering, a Dane Wigington site. We're going to play this. Watch this. This is all from outer space, shots from satellites. See the square? The inverse. Cut out of. I think you get the idea, right? Photograph is worth 1,000 words or 10,000 words. What's that? Different parts of the world. Different parts that were taken from different areas. So, question comes up: contrails or chemtrails? Contrails basically are trails. This is really important to understand what's going on here. Contrails basically are trails emitted by jets as a byproduct of fuel combustion, producing water vapor, CO2, and other minute particles. Short tails are made when supercool atmosphere is dry, and long tails when it's humid. Chemtrails are reported to contain chemicals like heavy metals, chemical compounds, and or biological agents. Chemtrails are purported by almost every internet search as a conspiracy theory that have been debunked by all sorts of research and experts. This presentation will provide some of the information and hopefully allow you to make up your mind whether, the pun intended, chemtrails are real or fake. And a quick look at basic jet engines, because this is important too to find out. There's several others too, but the three most common are the ramjet, which is the first one that was developed. It's simple, basically air in, air is injected, fuel is injected, it's ignited, heat expands the air, and it's thrust out the back. There's no fans, no turbines. The second kind is a turbojet with rotating fan, pulls air in, compresses that air, fuel is injected and ignited, which then spins the turbine, which spins the preceding fan for the compressor to generate higher thrust than a ramjet. Used in combat jets, not very fuel efficient, but it generates huge thrust, especially with an afterburner, right? So the next one is the turbofan. Similar to the turbojet, but the front fan is larger and most of the air goes around the combustion air. And this cold air is later mixed with the hot ignited high thrust air to generate high volume at lower thrust, which equates to very efficient, quiet engines. It's used mostly by airliners and cargo planes, okay? So the efficiency goes way up. So let's take a look, because if that's true, low temperatures, the engines should, if there's contrails, they should produce this contrail when the tank conditions are proper, right? The military jets would be the easiest to see because they're most inefficient. They have a lot of thrust, a lot of fuel all at once. So the time you should see that is that when the maximum fuel, we have maximum amount of water vapor coming out, dispersed, right? I'm going to show two examples here. You're going to watch these in Fairbanks. It's very cold. This first one is minus 52 degrees, and the second one's like 40, 44 below. And we're going to see what happens with water when it's heated, like it coming out of a jet engine. They're not just talking about jet engines. They're just talking about showing what happens to the water. We're talking about solid water. Not solid. Liquid water, not a vapor, being thrown into the air, unlike a jet engine. And it's a portion of, it's not dispersed, it's a chunk of water being thrown into the air that's cold. A jet engine, you would think, if they're contrails, would be more easily to make a vapor trail because it's easily dispersed. This is going to be an extreme example, right? And watch what happens to just watch what happens.
Well, hey guys, it is 50 below here in Fairbanks, and I thought I'd come out here with some hot water and throw it up in the air so you can see it just fly away as a cloud. Man, it is cold. When it gets this cold, we get what we call ice fog. I just had to pay about $600 to get my pipes thawed out because when it got down to 52 below last night, it froze up on this side of the house. So anyways, let's get some hot water and throw that in the air. It's not actually too bad for as cold as this. All right, so I've got some hot water here. Let's go throw it in the air and see what happens.
Notice the vapor coming off. Watch the vapor. What's it doing? Disappearing. And it rises because it's a little warmer. It's going to rise. See it? But it's dissipating. And look.
There's a cloud just blowing away.
Yeah, it's dispersing. Right? Okay, let's watch this one. Another example.
So when it's really cold outside, like it is now at -40, and you take boiling water, you go outside and throw the boiling water into the air, it evaporates into a big steam cloud. This is because you're increasing the surface area of the hot water, and that water comes in contact with a lot of really frigid air, and it just increases the rate of evaporation just really abruptly. So you get this big steam cloud. So I'm going to go outside and try and do that experiment. Well, I'd say it was a success.
See? Same thing. It disperses, spreads out and disperses, and just disappears. It doesn't linger. Okay, let's take a look at some examples of actual jets doing the same thing, basically, on a real practical. I took areas that were sub-zero, as cold as we can get, and we're going to see a couple of them here. This one here is a Boeing 777, 777, taken off from Fairbanks, sub-zero temperatures. Watch the exhaust. Sub-zero temperatures, maximum, almost maximum fuel being dispersed. I mean, coming out there, there's nothing. Okay, so people say, well, it's not a high altitude. The atmosphere is thinner at high altitude, and it's cold up there, right? And so I found this to dispel that counter argument that it's colder, less dense altitude, and it's going to condense and stay in that atmosphere, right? That makes sense? Well, this is there's actually two military jets. One's an F-16, I think it's an F-16, yeah, an F-16 Air Force, the ones, you see it right there. It's an F-16 at altitude, probably about 35,000 feet. Inefficient engines, lots of thrust, the combustion is not complete. You should have the most vapor coming out. And we have a Soviet jet that passes. It's going to be right through here between these two. And he's going faster, so he'd be giving it more fuel, right? Watch. See if you see any contrail. And it's in Alaska, near Alaska. Anything? No. Okay, so now we're getting a little, it doesn't look so good at being the existence of a contrail. So let's take a look at, we're gonna see some more. This is an Airbus A380. The cold temperature testing. This is before they put it into production. They're testing it under cold conditions as they can get. Let's see if there's any contrail. That's snow. That's snow right there. Did you see anything? There's a little bit of black, a little bit of trace black, but no contrail. They're testing it on maximum throttle, an efficient engine, so you'd expect less moisture. So that may, but we already saw the military jets, right? Let's take a look at some more, just to see. Maybe the conditions weren't right. This is a C-17 cargo master, I think they call it. Takeoff in Antarctica. I don't think you get much colder than that, right? Now you see the snow behind it being blown up from the thrust. Watch it when it gets airborne. Inefficient, well, it's probably an efficient engine on a cargo jet. Anybody see a contrail? Okay. Well, let's just try a couple more. I'm telling you, I've scoured the internet. I can't find any. But I want to show a couple more. This is a Boeing 737 taken off in the Arctic. Again, a different jet, different location. Okay. Try another one here. It's the military vehicle. That was a commercial. This is a military. C-17 cargo coming in. Contrail? Okay, well, I'm challenging anybody to find a contrail out of a jet that can actually watch.
I've actually stood out here and seen both the chemtrails and the contrails. Contrails just pay pretty quick. Trails obviously stay.
I'm going to have some photographs of what you're talking about. I'm going to show something just locally here. Okay, facts to ponder. We're going to change the subject a little bit. These are some things that people say, oh, they don't exist. Contrails don't. They don't change the weather. They can't modify the weather. Nobody can do that. I'm going to show this. Vice President LBJ in May 27th, 1962, quote, this is at a commencement hearing he had, college commencement. Ultimately, he who controls the weather will control the world, right? A couple of years later, President LBJ on May 24th, 1965, a letter to Congress to investigate how to modify the weather. So the intent is there, right? Then, right here, top secret, Operation Popeye. Anybody heard of that? Operation Popeye? It was secret, super secret. Congress had to petition the DOD to get this information because it was started in 1966. The government lied, denied, lied, diverted, misdirected the American public in Congress until 1974 when several senators demanded the answers. I've got that file, Operation Popeye, as a PDF. Also, ResearchGate shows that this article increase in aluminum particles in the environment due to chemtrails during the period of autumn 2012 to summer 2015 in Lahore, Pakistan. This is a Pakistan article. There's more information on foreign countries than there is in the United States. Chemtrail facts. Stratospheric Welsbach seeding for reduction of global warming patent, 1991, Hughes Aircraft. A method is described for reducing atmospheric or global warming resulting from the presence of heat-trapping gases in the atmosphere, with particles of materials characterized by wavelength-dependent emissivity. Such materials include Welsbach materials and the oxides of metals, such materials that can include the class of materials known as Welsbach materials. The oxides of metal, such as aluminum oxide, are also suitable for that purpose. That's a patent. Another one, creation of artificial ionization clouds above the Earth by BEAE Systems, patent number. And the third one here, there's hundreds of these, but the method and composition of precipitation of atmospheric water, 1994 by Mentos. I wonder if that's the things you put in your mouth. A method for precipitating atmospheric water by means of multi-component aerosols, including silver iodine and iodates, and peridates of alkali metals, lead, copper, barium, ammonia, barium chromate, and selected oxidizers such as ammonium perchlorate, and fuels such as polyphenylene, phenol formaldehyde resin, epoxide resin, and shellac in the atmosphere. Aerosols. Those are patents. That doesn't mean necessarily they're doing it, right? So what is geoengineering? But what is geoengineering exactly? Traditionally, geoengineering has encompassed two different things: sucking carbon dioxide out of the sky so the atmosphere will trap less heat, and reflecting more sunlight away from the planet so less heat is absorbed in the first place. This is a blanket term that includes ideas like setting up sun shields in space or dispersing microscopic particles in the air in various ways to make coastal clouds more reflective, dissipate heat-trapping cirrus clouds, or scattering sunlight in the stratosphere. These are quotes taken directly from MIT. In that article, it's kind of interesting to have drawings, sketches of planes, and it shows them emitting particles, not out of the engines, off the wings. And so you might even say, well, that's all future stuff like patents, right? Well, let's assume that the clouds just naturally look weird, like square. The engines do emit water vapor as contrails. Let's assume that. And patents don't mean that's put into application. But the previous article, MIT article, does say that's basically theory, no real world application. Is there any proof of aluminum in air? Here's where it comes down. We're gonna start looking at the specifics of this. In this meeting right here, Shasta County Commissioner meeting in California, it was July 14th, 2014. It's been condensed. You can't find the original one. I can't, anyways. But the original one was almost 4 hours long. And I'm going to play this to show an introduction of what was taking place. That these people are not just they're common people, but they're scientists of all sorts who are here. I'm not going to get into all of this, but I want you to just take a look at it and listen to what's going on.
All right, I think that makes everybody happy that we're to item number R7. I will make the obvious acknowledgement that I am aware of. This is a record attendance for the Shasta County Board of Supervisors, at least in my tenure on the board.
Standing room only.
So let me go ahead and outline a process for item number R7 so we can all be on the same page and understand what it is that we are doing this morning. R7 is a discussion to receive input and discuss matters regarding geoengineering chemtrails, consider providing direction to staff, and consider taking other appropriate action as necessary. In a few moments, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Supervisor Giacomini to introduce her guest speaker today. What we have is we have a presentation that has been arranged in advance through Supervisor Giacomini, who placed this item on today's agenda. In addition to that, there are a number of speakers that had been arranged through Supervisor Giacomini to also join with that first presentation in order so that they might be grouped and clustered together. We're going to honor that request and take them as you had asked for in advance and agreed to, Supervisor Giacomini. After that, there are a lot of requests. In fact, a lot. It's a lot, as I'm sure that you recognize. We're going to take those in the order received today, okay?
I'm not going to play it because it's long. I mean, I condense it down, but we're going to move along. The point is, there's a lot of people who took tests of their own soils and air and were complaining to the commissioners. Something needs to be done. We're being sprayed with compounds, and some of this, we're going to show some of the information they gathered, some of it. You won't know who presented it, but there's a lot of people there. Dane Wigington was one of the first ones to be there presenting. This one here, totally separate, somebody who worked in the Air Force. And we're going to show a couple of different things. A lot of people say it's from the military. It's from the military, you know, DARPA and that sort of thing. It was. And this one here, this lady, I'm gonna play this because it's important. She had first-hand knowledge of this going on, and she's going to explain it. Kristen Meghan, I think is her name. Meghan or Kristen? I think it's Kristen Meghan. Kristen Meghan.
I'm going to talk about geoengineering. I want to say around 2006, I started kind of opening my eyes to how the military wasn't really what I thought it was. And people approached me knowing what I did for a living and said, have you ever heard of chemtrails? Well, I hadn't. And that sparked my interest. So I went online and I looked at chemtrails. I saw a lot of, debunking, a lot of sites that were just kind of calling it a conspiracy theory. And I thought, well, geez, this is what I do for a living. Preventive health, making sure that people are not getting sick, especially in the workplace, and by things that we're doing that can affect, human health and the environment. To summarize it, in an attempt to debunk this conspiracy theory as I thought it was, I didn't debunk it. It literally changed my life. Like I said, this is hard for me because it's not.
I'm going to pause it. She was an environmental or industrial hygienist, which I never heard about that. And her job is to go around and make sure whatever compounds personnel are using, they need to be using it properly and disposing of it properly for environmental reasons. If there's toxins, they need to know how to properly handle that. That's what her job was. She lost her job because she spoke out. And listen, I'm just prefacing that. This is condensed down.
Was she active duty Air Force?
She was active duty Air Force.
Easy standing here and telling my story. One day I was going through that computer system, which if you want to look it up, it's called an Air Force Form 3952. It is the approval of hazardous materials. I was finding tons and tons of large quantities of aluminum, barium, strontium in the forms of oxides and sulfates. And of course I knew that there's industrial processes you may not have heard of, but it's bead blasting, pneumatic sanding, shot peening. There is certain medias that's similar to that is used. However, I had already accounted for that. I would sit and look at this computer system and say, this shop wants to order this paint. I'm going to tie it to a task. We had to know what was being used, why it was being used, tracking it cradle to grave on how we were going to dispose of it to be compliant with OSHA and the EPA. One of the legal requirements in approving these is looking at what used to be called the material safety data sheet. On that sheet, it's going to list the manufacturer. It's going to list some maybe required personal protective equipment that needs to be used or some ways to mitigate the exposures. These electronic MSDSs did not have a manufacturer name. They were very vague. They almost looked to me like somebody had made it and scanned it into the system. So I asked the question, what is this being used for? I never got an answer, so I didn't approve it. And it sat there. And then the heat came down. Are you behind on your 3952s? Only a select few of us did that. So I started asking questions. And at that point, my demonization began. I made my rank. I was decorated. I was a non-commissioned officer of a quarter. I won lots of awards. I had no reason for anyone to attempt to demonize me. So then I get moved over to the other Air Logistics Center. There's only 2 in the Air Force, which is in Warner Robins, Georgia. This kind of carried with me. And I thought, you know what? Should I revisit this? Is it worth it? Did I hit something? Maybe it's need to know. I started finding the same things at Robins Air Force Base. I was now doing some more investigation work. Part of what I did was to use a high volume air sampler to air sample up to, I'd say, a football field in about 10 minutes. I also conducted soil sampling because I thought, you know, if this is real and they are spraying this, it's going to get to the ground. So I conducted air sampling, I conducted soil sampling, and I was getting high levels of these contaminants. When I started asking the question again under a new commander, I never in my life thought I would have somebody look me in the face and tell me, I am questioning you. Is there something wrong with you? You've been looking really depressed lately. You know, I can put you under a mental evaluation for up to 120 days. Who would take care of your daughter? Because I was divorced at the time. As soon as I heard that, I knew. It validated everything I ever thought. And I thought, I've spent 9 years of my life trying to protect human health, and here we are violating law after law after law. Just sitting here, instead of protecting the people, we are poisoning the people. And I've never got up so much courage from that fear of being thrown in a cage, because when you're in the military, folks, you're a number. You are a number, and every aspect of your life is controlled. I was so lucky that my enlistment was coming up and I was supposed to re-enlist. I ran and did not look back. And I have been blowing the whistle and shouting ever since. And I left October 27, 2010. Thank you. It didn't just end there, though. You got to remember, there's a whole career field of people that work in bioenvironmental engineering. A lot of those people were told, do not talk to me. Do not talk to her. Do not email her. They were given no contact orders. Because my biggest thing was, if I'm just so, dishonest, don't you think somebody would come out and say, she was never in the military or something negative to discredit me? They've ignored me, but they've tried to silence me. Every time I fly, I am pulled into a secret room. I literally am tagged in the system for the TSA. It is difficult. As an industrial hygienist, I do very well for myself, but it has been so difficult after leaving the federal government to maintain employment. Nowadays, everyone runs background checks on you, and the first thing they look at is, wow, here's a whistleblower. And you ask yourself, if this is true and we are spraying the people, where are the pilots? Where are the people? I don't know if you pay attention, but look at Snowden. Look at Manning. People don't come forward because these supposed Whistleblower Act protections that you have are not enforced, they're not supported, and they really don't exist. What I want you to take from this is to understand that I am being completely honest with you, and that geoengineering is occurring, it's been occurring, it is not new, and your tax dollars are funding this. I 100% know that the US Air Force was involved, and it kind of, I think back to all these things that I never had noticed. If you don't know what to look for, you can't look for something. And once I realized a process they were trying to hide, people have come out of the woodworks, from EPA compliance officers to ex-people that I worked with in my career field, who I cannot state for obvious reasons. I've had pilots come forward. I've had people come forward that actually load the canisters on the planes. These people don't come forward because they are afraid that they're going to end up like Snowden. And I continue to speak to let people know I've been screaming about this for 3 years and I'm still here. And why are you so afraid? Because many of these people are on active duty. And if you are willing to die for your country, supporting, the Constitution and defending us from enemies foreign and domestic, you are willing to die for your country, but now you're scared. You are scared and cowardly to talk about this. So I'm not just speaking to all of you in this room, I'm speaking to all those people that are gonna watch this online and watching on YouTube. Because you can come forward, you can help expose this, and we can stop it. So many people wanna ask why? Why is this occurring? That's for later thought. From weather modification to weather weaponry, there's numerous reasons under Agenda 21 and tons of theories. But my job as an industrial hygienist is to make sure that I comply with the laws and enforce them. So it is unethical every day for all the other people that are out there that work in preventive health, or even physicians that aren't speaking about this. They need to. So one thing I want to tell you is what you can do about it. The biggest hurdle that we have is disinformation sites. I never say them, but I'm going to today, so that you know if anyone ever gives these to you as a reference to debunk you, it's Metabunk and Contrail Science. Those are two websites that are ran by a government shill named Mick West. And he is a computer gaming programmer who tries to tell you about persistent contrails. So somebody who isn't even credentialed in chemistry or physics or ecology, none of that, is trying to tell you that you're crazy. Okay? So also on social media, don't just hit the share button. There are links. You have to understand that I have met people who used to be purposeful disinformation trolls, as we call them. These people are paid to pretend that they're you, to get you on board to believe a website or an article.
I'm going to stop it right there, but you get the idea. She's out there. She lost her job. They tried to give her she got out on a medical, is what it was. They transferred her around a couple times, but she's one brave person. So moving along, we're going to get into some of the data here pretty quick. So I'm going to go right here, and she mentioned the EPA. This is a letter that was submitted. I'm going to read it because it's pretty important. It says U.S. EPA scientists fired for trying to tell the truth about climate engineering and fluoridated water. He says, this is posted as an affidavit, a fact. My name is Michael Davis. I was employed as an environmental engineer for nearly 16 years in the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System programs branch of the Water Division in Region 5, Chicago, of the U.S. EPA. I was terminated as a public servant performing a public service for raising the issues of anthropogenic, that means materials put in by man, deposition of aluminum due to atmospheric geoengineering. In doing my own research into the issue of anthropogenic deposition of aluminum from atmospheric geoengineering, as well as fluoride and other pollutants, in an attempt to determine why there was such strong opposition from my supervisor and the EPA in general, it's supposed to be this, factual reports on the issues. It is because the EPA wants to continue their cover-up, collusion, and criminality pertaining to pollution and contamination being perpetrated by their puppet masters, the multinational corporation. There's the reference right there. So there's somebody else who came forward about this. And so I'm going to mention this just a little bit quickly here. Why are agencies talking about SAI? SAI is stratospheric aerosol injections of reflective metallic particles. Now, if this is all conjecture, why are they talking about it? Just like the Welsbach patent, not only do the particles speak of injection, but delivery is via the aircraft. Of course, it is future, and the agencies take no responsibility nor liability. Just like Operation Popeye, agencies denied there was any weather modification present or past. There's two different references there. Both these articles are very similar to the MIT article, and it's almost like the MSM News Hour. Maybe they're following a script. That's just me interjecting that. Now, this one here, I found this, and this is from, I can't remember exactly where this one's from. I think it's from India, I think. It says, weather engineering and its undesirable side effects. Well, if there's side effects, how would they know that if it's projected? This is analysis they have done. It says, I'm going to read it. It's long, but it's important. Weather engineering scientists developed a new chemtrail technology applied by jets in the stratosphere for decreasing global warming. It is based on building synthetic chemical clouds of aluminum oxide as Welsbach material particles to reflect the heat coming from the sun back into the upper atmosphere and thus cooling the air on Earth. The applied aerosol mixture contains also nanoparticles of barium monoxide, which react with CO2 when reacting in the troposphere, turning into barium carbonate and bicarbonate, leading to the minimalization of its content in the atmosphere on the long run. In 2000, the UN approved the first global weather engineering project in the history of mankind to combat the global warming by chemtrail technology for the period of 2000 to 2050 with a budget of US dollars 50 billion. That's $1 billion a year, financed and completely managed by the US alone. Since the application took place on the global level, climatologists, biologists, agronomists, and medical institutions around the globe recorded and explained undesirable side effects of this technology with severe impact on the weather, natural resources of flora and fauna, as well as to human health. These effects can be summarized in the following. There's a list. Creation of completely new wind directions by induced air depressions. Number 2, dehydration of certain ecosystems through aluminum oxide. 3, changing gigantic electric fields leading to more lightning that induced wildfires in dehydrated forest and rangeland. 4, increasing the frequency and empowering the natural disasters by seeding air with precipitated nuclei causing floods. 5, cooling upper air levels over warm water, causing hurricanes, tornadoes, and building heavy snow and hail. 6, decreasing air visibility due to suspended chemtrail particles in the air. 7, causing health problems with allergic reactions to chemicals and compounds of the aerosols. 8, creation of extreme killer heat waves when reflecting heat back to the earth by aluminum oxide. 9, increasing human mortality in proportion to decreased air visibility. And 10, increasing risk with calcification diseases caused by stratospheric nanobacteria carried down to Earth on the chemtrail particles. There's a lot. Moving along. Newsbreak. This is just a short time back. It says, Newsbreak article. This is a direct quote. 70,000 acres of dead conifer trees, up from 33,000 acres in 2023. 406,000 acres damaged by insects, disease, and harsh conditions, an increase of 42,000 acres or 12% since 2023. 39% rise in trees losing needles, leaves, and turning brown or red statewide. So I ask, what is the real cause of this? Oh, did you know there's new clouds out there? So there's new clouds with new names. 12 new types of clouds with new names. One of particular interest in this presentation is homogeneous, and they describe it as describe a cloud that forms from a human source, such as aircraft condensation trails and power plants. Huh. And the next one down here, there's a reference right there. I'm trying to take a wide variety of references. I'm not using like Geoengineering Watch. New cloud names since 2017 of the previous article cited above is actiniform clouds look like distinct leaf-like or spokes on a wheel pattern. MISR, that must be a satellite, collects data on the sunlit side of the Earth using cameras that look in 9 different directions simultaneously. The change in reflection at the different viewing angles enables researchers to distinguish different types of atmospheric particles, aerosols, cloud forms. And then, quote, we don't have a good understanding of why they have this radial structure to them and why it's fairly common. They've never seen this before. So I ask, where did these new clouds come from? Well, there's something here, HARP. And what is it, Sue? What is atmospheric heaters. It's a high-frequency active auroral research program, and it's a scientific endeavor aimed at studying the properties and behavior of ionosphere, and I condensed this, capable of radiating 3.6 megawatts into the upper atmosphere and the ionosphere. It's taken right directly from HARP, their website, frequently asked questions. And if you go look at their website, they are not run by the military, and they do not affect human health, and they do not affect the weather. But we're going to show otherwise. If that book does.
They don't allow you on site.
They won't lower. That's exactly right. It's a research facility. And it's in Galcona, Alaska. I know exactly where it's at. And our friends, the McLeans, were going to buy some property real close, like 12 miles away. And I told him, you didn't realize where you're at? And he says, yeah, Glen Allen. No, look at Galcona. You're like 12 miles away from this HARP system. they had nothing to do with that after that. So anyway, however, since they claim the chemtrails are actually contrails made of water vapor, therefore radio waves do not affect it. That's true. That would be true. If it's water, it's not going to affect it. I would ask if there was aluminum, electrically conductive and radio wave reflective in the lower atmosphere, the troposphere and the stratosphere, what would their 3.6 megawatts of 2.7 to 10 megahertz radio waves do? That's important. That's the frequency they work at, right? Has no effect, right? As they claim. Interesting. Compare this to the HARP frequently asked questions, which we just went over. This is from Wikipedia, which we know is kind of a three-letter agency in there. Short wave, 1.6 to 30 megahertz. Well, wait a minute. What is the frequency of that HARP? 2.7 to 10. That falls within that range, doesn't it? 2.7 to 10? Diathermy, I didn't know what that was. Where EM electromagnetic waves are used to produce heat. It can be used as a therapeutic technique for its analgesic effect and deep muscle relaxation. When it's used on things. Shortwave diathermy can be applied in either continuous or pulsed mode. The latter came to prominence because the continuous mode produced too much heating too rapidly, making patients uncomfortable. The technique only heats tissues that are good electrical conductors, such as blood vessels and muscle. Adipose tissue fat receives little, that'd be mostly a lot of water, receives little heating by inductive fields because the electrical current is not actually going through the tissues. At sufficiently high energy level, shortwave energy can be harmful to human health, potentially causing damage to biological tissues, for example, by overheating and inducing electrical currents. Isn't that what HARP does?
Is that why when we're outside gardening and stuff, we feel like we're in the microwave?
It could be. That could be part of it, yes. So here's where listen to HARP specialist, Dr. Nick Begich, audios 1 and 2, and there's one right here. I'll just play a little bit, just let you hear what it sounds like.
It's time for Operation Freedom with your host, Dr. Dave Janda, on Southeast Michigan's conservative powerhouse, Wham Talk 1600.
Welcome back to Operation Freedom, folks. I'm Dr. Dave Janda. We're here at Wham Talk 1600 every Sunday from 3 to 5 Eastern. I am very, very pleased to have with us Dr. Nick Begich. Nick is the eldest son of the late United States Congressman from Alaska, Nick Begich Sr. Nick is well known in Alaska for his own political activities. He was twice elected president of both the Alaska Federation of Teachers and the Anchorage Council of Education. He's been pursuing independent research in the sciences and politics for most of his adult life. Dr. Begich received his doctorate of medicine degree in 1994. He co-authored with Gene Manning the book Angels Don't Play This Harp, that's HAARP, as well as Advances in Tesla Technology. Dr. Begich has published articles in science, politics, and education, and is an extremely well-known lecturer, having presented throughout the United States and in 19 countries around the world. He is publisher and co-owner of Earth Pulse Press, and he is also executive director of the Lay Institute of Technology, a Texas nonprofit corporation. The website where you can find Dr. Begich's information is an outstanding site, earthpulse.com. Dr. Begich, welcome to Operation Freedom.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you this Sunday evening, I guess, in your part of the world, or early afternoon.
That's right. You're big.
So I'll just stop it there, but you can hear it's a legitimate thing, and he's got credentials too. He's an authority on this. So if anybody wants the files, I can send them to you. Let's see right here. So, you guys seen this type of stuff? These clouds here? What do you notice about it? Now just notice the ripples? They're known as scalar waves. Look at where the information came from. The scalar rate waves, www.cia.gov.
Crooks in action.
Huh?
Crooks in action.
Thank you for that acronym. So what I've learned is you can tell the direction it's coming from, where they're emitting, because there's numerous sites around the world, in the United States and around the world. And you look at the patterns, see the little ripples like right here? So right there, right there. Think of it like this. When you have something emitting, it goes all out, right? So they're focusing right there. It's like a fan, like a loudspeaker out that way. So you go back, figure this arc right here, it's coming from this way, this direction over here. And these are in a different direction, right? They're not, this is this way. These are this way, almost like 90 degrees. And what they're doing, they're energizing from two different directions. So they're causing those clouds. And you can see it. There's a little split right there, isn't there? They're going to split that. And if you watch, it only takes to like 10 minutes. They'll be there and they'll be gone. Here's another example. It's a little harder to see on this one, but it looks like it's from one source, like right through here, right? And notice the color. We're going to get more into that in a minute. This is magnified of this. It's a sundog. Here's the sun. Here's the sundog. Here's the wispy clouds. See that color? That's clear evidence of aluminum. That goldish, purpley violet color that's present. Water does not do that. What color is water do when you split it in a prism? It's the rainbow, right? This is not God's creation. Oh, I forgot something very important. I skipped it. How did I skip that? Hold on. Here it is. Ephesians 2:2. We talk about Nick Bennett in the airwaves, pulsing in the air. It says Ephesians 2:2, wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in children of disobedience. How appropriate it is. We see them doing this, adulterating God's creation. Here again, same stuff. That iridescent coloration there. You see some of the scalar waves here. You see the prism effect right there, that golden color again. All clear evidence, not only of water is not affected by radio waves, but aluminum is. So, more chemtrail conspiracies. This comes from a news broadcast. I think it was on ABC. Let's look at this.
Could a strange substance found by a Southwest Arkansas man be part of a government test? Well, that's the question at the heart of a phenomenon called chemtrails, now getting widespread attention. Well, tonight, KSLA News 12 investigation reporter Jeff Farrell shows us the results of testing we had done about what's in our skies.
It seemed like some mornings they were just crisscrossing the whole sky, and it was just like a giant checkerboard.
Bill Nichols snapped several photos of the strange clouds from his home in Stamps, Arkansas. They begin as normal contrails from a jet engine, but do not fade away like a normal contrail. Soon after, he saw particles in the air.
Because we'd see it drop to the ground in a haze.
Nichols then noticed the material collecting on the ground.
This is water and stuff that I collected in bowls. I had it set out in my backyard on my dad's pickup truck.
KSLA News 12 had the sample tested at a lab. The results? A high level of barium, 6.8 parts per million, more than 3 times the toxic level set by the EPA.
Armed with these lab results about the high levels of barium found in our sample, we decided to contact the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality. They told us that yes, these levels are very unusual, but at the same time, they added the caveat that proving the source is a whole other matter.
Barium is a hallmark of other chemtrail testing. which even attracted attention from a Los Angeles TV station. There's already no shortage of unclassified weather modification programs by the government. But those who fear chemtrails could be secret biological or chemical testing on the public point to the 1977 Senate hearings in particular, which confirmed 239 populated areas had been contaminated with biological agents between 1949 and 1969. Later, the 1994 Rockefeller Report concluded hundreds of thousands of military personnel were also subjected to secret biological experiments over the last 60 years. But could secret testing be underway yet again?
I'd rather it be something inert and benign, something that's, not causing any damage, but I'd like to know what it is.
KSLA News 12 discovered chemtrails are even mentioned by name in the initial draft of House Bill 2977 back in 2001 under the Space Preservation Act. But the military denies any such program exists. Jeff Farrell, KSLA News 12 reporting.
And it turns out until 9 years ago, the government had the right under U.S. law to conduct secret testing on the American public under specific conditions. Only a public outcry repealed part of that law with some exceptions.
Now, Jeff's report mentioned high levels of barium linked to those alleged chemtrails. We wanted to find out exactly what effects barium has on the body. We spoke with Mark Ryan, the director of the Poison Control Center. Ryan tells KSLA News 12 that short-term exposure can lead to anything from stomach to chest pains. Long-term exposure causes blood pressure problems. Ryan addressed concerns by chemtrail researchers that barium could be meant to wear down a person's immune system.
Anything that causes ill effects in the body long-term chronically is going to affect your ability because it's constantly working on the body. So from that aspect, yeah, it's a potential.
Ryan says he's conducted research on his own about secret government testing on the public, but he's still a bit skeptical about the alleged chemtrails, at least at the moment, because the Poison Control Center has seen no calls about exposure to barium.
Interesting. Interesting. They still cover, even though they mention the articles, they still say, oh, we don't think there's really anything there. So, physical proof. Chemtrails, chems are in the trails. First, here's some standard. I'm going to point this out. This is standard across the board. Some standards for health safety for aluminum. And basically, if you look down at California and the US EPA and the Food and Drug, 0.6 parts per million. This is for aluminum, right? And down here, the EPA is actually less than that, 0.05 to 0.2. And the Food and Drug Administration is 0.2 also, 0.2 parts per million. That's the maximum. That's the regulatory limit for water in aluminum in the bottled water and aluminum in drinking water, right? Okay, I'm not going to go through all this. This is only part of what I've got. But these samples are taken from different areas. It's from water, rainwater, snow melt, air sampling. 4th grade students took this from different areas. These are in California. And if you look, here's aluminum, barium, strontium. They are not found free in the environment. They're bound to something. But when you see them, they're free. It's man-made, coming from something. So here's 86 parts per million. What was the limit? 0.2. And we're at 86 parts per million. Barium, that's aluminum. Barium's 32. Strontium, 54. Look at this one. This is way up there. Oh. Oh, that's really good. Ann posted this here. Chemtrail pilot. We don't just spray them, we bury them. That's really good. So it's really appropriate here. So you see these levels? 88 parts per million in rainwater. This is in California. The next one. These are all California from different areas. Shasta. All these people are submitting these. Look at these levels. 1,260 milligrams per liter. That's 1,000 times more than parts per million. 9,200. Now, of course, this is from ponds. These are from ponds settling, so it's accumulating. You know, it doesn't just leach out of doesn't evaporate. So I'm going to skip on down because all these are real high. I'm going to have one right here. The people say, oh, that's from industrial pollution. Let me see, where's that one? There's one in Hawaii. Oh, right here, Maui. Rainwater collection. 400 parts per million. And get this, then we have barium instead of strontium, titanium. And he did 2 different samples and a year apart. And he came up with, these are extraordinary. Again, titanium. And there's no industrialization in Maui. So the only place they could be coming from is from the air. And where would they be coming from? So I'm going to go down this one because this was one individual up in Michigan, Bruce TWP, wherever that is. And he took pond water, but I like to concentrate on the rainwater because it's coming through the atmosphere. And he took them religiously. He took them from the same place, all these things. And look at the amounts he's getting. Parts per million, 8.823, 786, 652. It's never the same. What varies a lot?
TWP is township.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So, and he's got these. Look at these samples. 1,000 parts per million. This is rainwater. And it's huge numbers. And then we're looking at aluminum. I'm not just aluminum. I'm not looking at the barium, strontium. They're all off the charts too. These are exceptionally high. Toxic. This is all toxic. And so look at this. This is from California, the public water supply. I can't read it, but this is continuous from 1995 to 2008. There's about a 3-month gap right here. But look, this is aluminum in the public drinking water. And it goes up here, and I can't read it. It's up, that looks like 1,000 right there. Looks like parts per million. It is. And spike right here, it comes down, and then obviously there was a spike in between there because it's up here and it comes down, up, down, flat, up, down, flat. The only thing I know that would do that is something that's being introduced into the environment to get into the public water supply. We know what that could be. Drinking water test result in California. This is from APEC Water. They have nothing to do except filters. They make filtration systems. And I'm just going to read this. And this came out in, I thought I had a date on this. Yeah, May 3rd, 2006. It was discovered that barium, magnesium, lead, manganese, aluminum, iron, sodium, and specific conductance, that's the ability of water to conduct a charge, were being found in under unusual circumstances in our drinking water supplies. Unusual spikes were occurring in almost all drinking water sources in Mendocino County and other counties throughout the state of California. Prior to 1990, these spikes were not evident in drinking water tests. The results were zero, unless they were historic levels in the water shown by test results each year from 1984. The test results do show that in non-spike years, these contaminants were not found in the water sources. Why? So there's times when it's not found. These specific spikes started in 1991 and have continued in certain specific years through 2006. The interesting part that these water spikes is that these contaminants almost always spike at the same time in the same year. If, for example, specific conductance is high, then all or almost all the other tests are also high at the same time. Other tests reveal that boron, silver, and sometimes zinc were also present during these spikes in some water tests. This looks like chemtrails would account for these spikes, wouldn't it? We're going to get down a little nitpicky real quick here. Look, this is from Phoenix. Air sample in 2009. And it was in one date, 7/21/2009. This is parts per million in the air. Can you read that? 39,000 parts per million of aluminum on that date. And then iron, 17,300. Here's the level, what's supposed to be the max. The toxic limit, toxic, right there, 2. And we got 39,000. This is 0.6 of iron, 17,300. And then barium is supposed to be 2, and it's 2,100. Zinc is supposed to be 10, and it's 1,100. Let's see. Okay. A good thing to see, to watch, I encourage everybody to watch it, is The Dimming by Dane Wigington. It's like an hour and a half long, and it's excellent. It's free. It's on YouTube. You can look it up. It's on Dane. I'd recommend going to Dane Wigington's site. But here we come. Here it goes. If it's contrails coming out of planes, they say it's the contrails, the condensation. Here's, look at this. Oh, this has been removed. I had to go, you can still get this, I think, but I saved it because notice it's in Italian. But this is an American film, or somebody recorded it. This is from an F-16 pilot. Watch this. There's the color. You know what it is. Notice nozzles. How many engines are there on that aircraft? 1, 2, 3. How many contrails do you see? It's a fan. But notice they got pictures of the nozzles. They are going to say that it looks like it's coming from the top of the wing, but the nozzles are actually under the wing. There they are right there. And those are turbofan engines. So watch. There's a jet behind it, and they're up above it. He's starting again.
See him spray that chemtrail? Nope. I feel like we're above it. I know. Notice we'd be dead right now.
We'd be dead.
Look, listen, I gotta put this on YouTube.
So it's pretty evident. That's direct evidence right there. It's not coming from the jet engines. So here's some personal pictures. This is from our living room coffee table. Lauren pointed out to me. She says, "What is all this stuff?"
Because I just cleaned it.
Yeah, she just cleaned it. We had the windows open, and they were spraying heavily, and this is blown up. See those fibers? All these particles, white filament like looking. They're all irregular. It's not dust.
And they were kind of colorful.
Yeah. Yep. Now I took a video. That was in October 20th, 2021. But I took a video one night. Roger and I have talked about this before, and I don't know if it's going to show up at night after they're spraying. Okay, let's see these little things I can see. I feel them on my face. There's some. See them? See them? They're coming up. These little things are in here. Let's see. Let me get in the dark area here. See them shoot past? They're not bugs. I can feel them. Can you see them? There's a breeze. They're moving up and off to the side. They were heavily spraying yesterday and today.
the wind is coming from a little breeze from the east.
And these were going
And
everywhere.
over here, we got this part of our garage is blocking it, so the wind current's different. What? Look at there below on.
It looks like snow. I could feel them hitting my face.
I can't find anything that's like not moving. To get a better look at it. There's some coming behind me there. You can see those.
You see they're coming from up.
They're like bugs or something. They're not.
Mm.
They're not bugs. They're too small.
And they're different shapes and sizes.
Over here, there might be some more.
They're all white.
They're every which way. There's no rhyme or reason. Okay, that's about it.
Okay. So that's my personal experience. Now we're getting personal testimony here. I took pictures. Personal observations, commercial airliners spraying. Commercial. The following photos were taken from La Luz, New Mexico, unless otherwise noted. I observed commercial airliners spraying and documented via my iPhone, magnified, and flight radar app, the iPhone app. I then verified actual airline via 30 power spotting scope. I can look up there and see the coloration underneath, and it verified with the app, and you're going to see it. The app was 100% accurate on the aircraft type, the location, and the time, and the route at which it's going, based on my observations of dozens of aircraft. Note the date, time of the commercial aircraft info also. Okay, here we go. Notice I'm gonna fly through these. Here's this one here. It's skipping. See it? Just like that the video we saw. They're skipping. And here it is. You look over here at flight radar. I was looking southwest. There's the San Andreas Mountains over there, and so it's coming. This is the path it's going right towards Alamogordo, and it's Allegiant Air, whoever they are, and the pilot is Nicholas Soto. It's coming from Phoenix, going to Knoxville. It's at 35,000 feet. That's from the barometric altitude, and the speed is 540 knots. It's an Airbus A320, not the 380 we saw they were testing. So it gives you all this information. And the timestamp, you look down here, March 2nd, 2025, 6:02 p.m. and 6:04 by the time I went over to the app and opened it up and took that. So the next one is same day, just a couple minutes later. But this one's coming from the northwest. And it's skipping a little bit there, same way, right? It's coming up. This is a United Airlines. Oliver Richter is the pilot, Los Angeles to Houston. And it's 6:07, just a few minutes after. This one here, looking southeast, note the residual spray from the night activity. If it's supposed to be fighting global warming by reflecting the sunlight back, why are they spraying at night? Something to think about. So if this one's going across here, it's American Airlines. Let me take a moment here. Does anybody remember the date they changed? I don't know this. I haven't looked this up. The date they changed that you had to weigh the luggage. Remember they reduced the luggage, the amount of luggage you could take, and the weights? Do you know what their reasoning was? They were saying it was because people are heavier weight now than they were before. I remember hearing that. But they got to have extra capacity to carry this stuff. And think about it. The government says, we don't know anything about it. We're not doing it. Yeah, because they got the commercial airlines, got the subcontract, additional income coming in.
Well, and very few people check their bags.
Yes, that's right. So, and that's American Airlines. I'm going to show you what kind of things are going on. Let's see where we at. Right there, this one here. There gets to be so many of these. Now look at this. There's one plane here. This is a private plane right there. Here's this is American Airlines. I don't know what that one is. We'll see it in a minute here. But here's the active one. This is the one we're tracking right here. This one here is the previous one right here. There's the trail that skipped and they went on, it's further ahead. That's the residual. This is the residual from the other one, previous. And this is at 12 noon on the 23rd of March. And so I put these lines in here to highlight. That's the active one we're tracking right there. And this is the one that was previous that I didn't get a shot on. And so I zoomed in on that. That's with my camera. I can see these with my spotting scope, but I can't record it. I tried doing a recording, but I can't track it. It's too wiggly. And there's my spotting scope that I track. This is interesting with two jets. Okay, the question about some contrails and no contrails. There's two jets. So we've already established that Flight App is very accurate, right? It says there's two jets together. Here's the active one. I don't know which one this is because they were both American Airlines or Southwest. They were both Southwest Airlines. They're both flying. I can't see one of these, but I can see the other one. So one's spraying, one is not. So the ideology of, or they're saying that it's because the conditions aren't proper for an actual contrail. We got two jets flying next to each other. One's a contrail and the other one doesn't. What's it got? One has inefficient engines and the other one's good engines? You know, that doesn't make sense. One's spraying and one's not. That's exactly what's happening.
First guy ran out.
Yeah, but maybe mission was already accomplished. Now this one is, I think this is the one that's going to be kind of complicated. Let me see. I'm not sure if this one is or not, but anyways, according to Freight, there are 3 planes in this photo. 2 I could locate via the chemtrails. The third one, I can't see it. Here's one right here. Here's the other one right here. I don't know where the third one's at. According to the flight, this is the one I'm tracking right here, and there's another one. 2 are going the opposite direction. I couldn't find the third one. So he's not spraying. Another case. Okay, let's take this one here. Here's one. I know where he's at because I know the visual location. I know where I can spot it. And he's right here somewhere. I couldn't spot it with a spotting scope, and I couldn't because it's so concentrated. I couldn't find it. He wasn't spraying. Here's 2. This is the exciting one. This is the nice one. These are really clear. This is zoomed, and the next slide you'll see the third plane entering the picture. You can see here's one here. Here's one here. These 2 we're watching these 2 right here, right? This one's coming into the picture, and the next screen we'll see it. There it is. Bingo. A, B, and C. That's the third one. So, and here's the apps. That one's going that way. It's already passed my location. This one's going, it's already passed, and this one's coming in. This one's going that way. This one's going that way. And this one's coming across. So let's see what else. Anyways, you get the idea. These are all commercial airliners. Now this one might be an actual contrail because it's short. And I just saw a little bit as he's moving, that thing's moving with him. Just like that. So actual contrail? Maybe. And here's one directly overhead. And notice the residual. If this is moisture or water vapor, it'd be totally gone. You wouldn't even see it. But it's staying there. And here comes, this is blown up right there. Okay, I see. There's a lot more of these. The same thing, verification. I got 3 right here. There's 1, 2, 3 in a row. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I could see this one right there. That's one I had pictures on the previous one. But these 3 I couldn't see because they're haze and they were further south. You can see they're quite a ways south. I can't see that far. Couldn't pick them out. And with the mess they already had there, it was like that low-lying cloud stuff. It's actually up there, but I couldn't see it. So let's see. Oh, I was able to spot this plane. I said, oh, it should be right overhead. Where is it? And no contrail. I just kept looking with my phone. I zoomed it in 10 times, maxed out, and there's the plane right there. And it's American Airlines, Dallas to Santa Ana. So 36,000 feet. Patrick Tremblay. All this information. Yeah, yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And here we go again. Another one. This is spraying. So, anyway, so now look up. What do you see now? Here's a picture Lauren took. I put on here, how ironic. You got this toxin being sprayed in the background, and you got the American flag. And this just came out. I just got this. This was just March 25th. Newsflash. That's me putting it there from CNN. State lawmakers are looking to ban non-existent chemtrails. Ban non-existent. It could have real-life side effects. I'm going to read this. And you see the gobbledygook they talk about. An unsubstantiated conspiracy theory that claims the United States government is controlling the weather or its citizens by spraying dangerous chemtrails from airplanes has now made its way into several state legislatures where it could manifest into real-life laws. It's an example of how unproven and off-the-wall theories are bubbling into mainstream discourse under the Trump administration, many of which sow distrust in the government. This effort in particular could prevent actual scientists and engineers from slowing the breakneck pace of global warming, which is inflicting a devastating toll on Americans in the form of extreme weather.
I did an executive order only about a week ago,
On what?
ordering an investigation into chemtrail.
Oh, was it? I
Yes.
missed that.
That's really funny, because when he, in his first term, we saw him on, I think it was Fox, and he was getting a tour of the plane. They had the great big tanks.
I've seen
So he-
pictures of them carrying.
Yep.
But he knows about it.
I just put it on Telegram about an hour before the meeting.
Oh, okay.
He's got a chemtrails patch on his thing. There's a switch on the plane that says chemtrails, on or off. All kinds.
Yeah.
That's the guy that said we don't just spray them, we bury them.
I saw a picture posted online once that showed, that was a picture that showed that one side quit. And it was farther back. And it said, you know, the lines were longer to the starboard side of the plane.
So this is an example of Operation Mockingbird to inject lies and deceit into the truth. This is a response to the laws enacted by or proposed by 36 states forbidding the spraying of weather modification chemicals in the atmosphere over that state. Tennessee and Florida have already passed those. The only problem with these laws, there's no provision for enforcement, who's going to do the enforcement, and how to identify them. You know, that's the... Yeah, that would work, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Just check and see if Bill Gates has got a
Yeah.
money line going right to the airline.
So as a, well, my tour tonight, as guiding you through this information here, as piloting you. Oh, you know, I forgot one thing. I got to go back. I got to show you something. I can't believe my head not on right. But anyways, what's that? Chemtrail. I didn't take enough methylene blue. Despite the continued mockers who just deny chemtrails, saying it's fake or conspiracy theory and has been debunked, more and more people are looking up and realizing something is definitely wrong and unnatural. Plus, the massive amounts of heavy metals raining down on us and the extremes in weather dubiously attributed to climate change. We now know geoengineering is having a profound negative effect on the weather and the climate. Below are two sites that have huge amounts of information available to us: USAWatchdog and SaveOurSkies.org. That lady's doing what we all should be doing. And then pass this along, share it with more people who recognize this danger so they too can sound the alarm. Whether you are a Christian or not, we all have a voice. And I can assure you, someone is listening. So Psalms 34:17 through 18 says, the righteous cry out, and the Lord hears and delivers them from all their troubles. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. He saves those crushed in spirit. That is so true, and we definitely need his help. So Matthew 24, verses 21 through 21. It's supposed to be 22. For at that time there will be great tribulation, unseen from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be seen again. If those days had not been cut short, no one would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. So we have that promise. And then Revelation 11:18, the nations were enraged, and your wrath has come. The time has come to judge the dead and to reward your servants, the prophets, as well as the saints and those who fear your name, both small and great, and to destroy those who destroy the earth. So here's some references. These are some right here. And permission is granted to use and distribute all or any part of this presentation. But include sources as cited, include the information where it came from, so others may learn. Not to be used with any financial gain. I gathered and compiled these many resources, including my own, which I received free. So you too, please pass along this information freely. To the end of my presentation, which I was not able to find these two slides. And basically this slide here is, look up, is that a bird or a plane? No, it's chemtrails or contrails. This is the sky we see commonly nowadays, something like this. And to get this program to conclude with a little song I made with the help of AI, suno.com, by adding a little bit of information, just a few words, it'll come up the text you see here and the music. And it's very interesting. I'm very happy about this. It's kind of interesting. It's my first song I've ever made. So let's just listen along, if you don't mind. I think you'll enjoy it.
The sky is painted with a silver streak, patterns stretch, but no one speaks. A ghostly dance in the great blue hall, whispers rise and always fall. And I wonder if they see it at all. Chemtrails above us, secrets they weave, shadows of answers we barely perceive. The truth in the air we're dying to know, but the breeze carries toxins where it blows. Fingers point at the twist of the sky. Are they drawing lines or sketching a lie? Questions hang like clouds that never part, but riddle etched in the heavens are a continual puzzle to keep us apart. Chemtrails above us, secrets they weave, shadows of answers we barely perceive. The truth in the air we're dying to know, but the breeze carries toxins wherever it blows. Watch the horizon where colors blend, threads of the truth buried unsaid. Our heads still back to a tainted view. Are we chasing shadows or chasing the truth? Chemtrails above us, secrets they weave, shadows of answers we barely perceive. The truth in the air we're dying to know, but the breeze carries toxins wherever it blows. Watch the horizon where colors blend, threads of the truth buried unsaid. Our heads tilt back to a tainted view. Are we chasing shadows or chasing the truth? Are we chasing the truth?
Again, that was from, here's a link right here, suno.com. The AI that really assisted, actually produced this. I didn't. I just got started. I didn't even know what I was doing. But what we ultimately pray for, we want to pray for those new clear blue skies with the big puffy clouds. We remembered those, and let's bring those back. Thank you for listening. Please share and spread this everywhere. Thank you very much.